Coming to you live from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. Welcome to the Sports Wagering Zone. No matter what time zone you happen to be in, we're here every day, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So thank you very much for listening. We're coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio. Yeah, we're just about anywhere. Very easy to find. Like I said, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So today is Monday, the start of a new week. And of course, it's also Monday night football time as well. So we're going to be talking about that game up close and personal. Take a look at the line movements in that game and kind of determine which direction the pros are going to kind of let you know what direction they are going so you can decide as to whether you want to bet with them or bet against them. But again, it's totally up to you. We just bring you the information. You make the final determination as to what you're going to do with your money. So that's the story there. Anyway, there's an old saying in the Las Vegas sports books. What they say is, if you win on Saturday, you lose on Sunday. If you lose on Saturday, you win on Sunday. So it basically means that it's really hard to win on college football on any Saturday and then follow it up with a great winning Sunday in the NFL. Now, of course, if you lose on college football, there's a good chance that you'll bounce back on the NFL. Although sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. Okay. So, in the meantime, let's get to the general recaps for today. Going to take a look at some Major League Baseball and, of course, NFL action that happened yesterday throughout the league. Meanwhile, baseball, the Cardinals, once again, minus 150 on the money line. They are red hot. They beat the Cubs once again, 4-2 for their 16th straight win. So we're still waiting for that loss to come around so that we can get into the swagger theory when talking about winning and losing streaks. The favorites went 9-5. The Yankees beat the Red Sox. They're coming on hot and strong as well. 63 on their Sunday night baseball game. Closed at as a pick'em, as a consensus pick'em. And again, depending on where you live, depending on where you make your wagers, maybe you might have gotten a run or not, or the difference might be different. But we're talking about Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, it was a consensus pick'em. The favorites were 33-11 over the weekend, and they now lead at 59.5% so far in the season as far as a win percentage is concerned. The unders went 12-3 on Sunday, so that increased their lead to 50.3% from 50.2%. Now you have to understand, after all these games, after over 2,000 games so far this season, a 0.1% move is a pretty decent size. It doesn't sound like much. Like when you only have 2 or 3, 10, 100 games, but when you're into 1,000 games, when you take a small percent move like that, it really is much bigger than it appears. But that's the whole story as far as baseball is concerned. We'll keep an eye on the Cardinals, and as soon as they finally do lose, if they lose at all, the season will be coming to an end soon. If they do lose, then of course we'll let you know about it. And if you're interested, you can get involved in betting on the other team that they're playing against, whoever they may be at the time. Anyway, in the NFL, the Packers beat the 49ers 30-28 in their Sunday night game at as Mason Crosby had that 51-yard field goal. Time expired, okay? After the 49ers took the lead on that touchdown, And the point after, there were only 37 seconds left in that game when Green Bay got the ball. The Packers won after closing as a 3-point road underdog, and they were a plus 155 on the money line, while the game went over the closing betting total of 51 points. And that went over on the 49ers touchdown that they got before the game ended. The favorites went 7-6 straight up on Sunday. The Bucks and the Rams closing again as a pick'em. Again, Las Vegas numbers wherever you live. If you're living in Florida and betting, or if you're in Los Angeles in California, you're going to have different numbers. It may be a half a point, 1 point difference, whatever. But as far as Las Vegas was concerned, it was a pick'em. The underdogs led 8-5 against the spread yesterday, including the Panthers. They covered as favorites on Thursday Night Football, which started the whole week off. The favorites are 8-6 straight up overall in this third week, which comes to an end tonight. But the dogs, hey, they still lead 8-6 against the spread. Now, Sunday's outright upsets were by the Chargers, the Saints, the Falcons, the Bengals, the Vikings, and the Packers, while the Lions, a 7.5-point dog against the Ravens, also won. The Dolphins, a 3.5-point dog against the Raiders, they came out because they covered in straight up losses. Now, the home and road teams, they split 7-7 straight up on Sunday, and they were also 7-7 against the spread, including the Panthers' road win cover on Thursday Night Football. That's included in those numbers. Road teams now lead 8-7 straight up, and they're 8-7 against the spread. The unders went 10-4 on Sunday and are now 11-4 heading into that Monday night game that's on tap for tonight. And of course, the Monday night game tonight is between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, the Monday night game. So we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at that situation, try to see how the line movement is going in that game, and try to figure out in which direction the pros are going, so that that's information that would be of some benefit to you as you try to decide who to bet on that game. So, as usual, if you've listened to the show before, we take 3 breaks in the show. Each one is 1 minute's duration. So, if that's the case, we will be back in 1 minute. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. Coming to you live right here from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. Yes, we are right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting. We're podcasting on Apple, Spotify, most of your major podcast platforms as well. So let's get looking at the game for tonight. Cowboys and the Eagles. The NFL dogs, they still continue their hot streak. Sunday they went 8-5 against the spread. Dogs are now 30-17 against the spread. That's 64%. Remember, 52.3 is your break-even point. This is the same way they started the season last year as well. The best dog spot so far this season has been the short road dogs that are 6 points or less. Okay, short road dogs, 6 points or less, have done the best. They went 4-1 against the spread yesterday, and they're now astounding 14-2. 16 games, and they're right 14 times. That's 88% so far through these 3 weeks. Now, the unders stole the show yesterday. They went 10-4. The unders are now 28-19, or 60% on the season as well. Remember, the NFL, it's the most popular sport with the betting public. Through 3 weeks, taking that contrarian look, that angle from the contrarian point of view with the dogs and the unders has been a really great decision. And of course, we talked about that before the season started, trying to bring you up to date as to how it was last season. Of course, it doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but, they did very, very well. So even if they dropped off a little off of last year, still would have been in the profit column if you went that way. Again, we are the contrarians right here at the Sports Wagering Zone. Meanwhile, the game tonight, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, coming from Dallas, Texas. Well, it's actually coming from Irving, Texas. It's out that way. Eagles and the Cowboys. It's a Monday night football game, and it features a pair of the NFC's Eastern rivals, big rivals. They both have records of 1-1, although their public perceptions are vastly different, which may create a buy low, sell high opportunity in this game. The Eagles, they're 1-1 straight up. They're 1-1 against the spread. They crushed the Falcons 32-6 in the opening game, but then they dropped their week 2 game to the 49ers 17-11. They didn't even cover. They were 3-point home dogs in that game. Meanwhile, the Cowboys, they're 1-1 straight up, but they're 2-0 against the spread. They're coming off their first victory of the season, upsetting the Chargers 20-17 as a 3-point road dog. So essentially, Dallas is hot in the eyes of the public, while the Eagles are not. They're kind of on the cold side. Right now, with all the hype and everything, we know what happens with the Cowboys. They're America's team. A lot of people bet on it. A lot of money is going to be coming in tonight as well. Now, as we look at the line in this game, it opened with the Cowboys, a 3.5-point home favorite. Now, the public is happy to ride with Dak and the Cowboys. They're going to be at home, and it's a short spread. I mean, as we know about the Cowboys, 3.5 points, that's really not much of a spread at all. However, despite this lopsided betting and most of it coming in on Dallas, we see the line kind of stay frozen at 3.5. In fact, the Eagles 3.5 is being juiced up from -115 to -120, which means liability on Philadelphia and a possible fall in the number to that key number of 3.5, dropping to 3. We've explained how those situations develop. As the money line increases, being juiced up, it gets to a certain point, it stops, drops back down, but in the meantime, the line moves accordingly. Now, the wise guys, the pros, they seem to be backing the Eagles plus the hook based on the line freeze and the juice reverse line movement that they are anticipating at 3. Now, Philadelphia has value. They're a contrarian road dog in what's going to be a very heavily bet primetime game. Let's face it, it's the only game in town. It's the only action available. Primetime dogs are 5-3 against the spread this season, and they're at 60% over the past 2 seasons. So the Eagles also, match the best betting system through these 3 weeks so far. They're a short road dog of 6 points or less. They're 14-2 against the spread this season, and they're at 62% over the past 2 years. Once again, these are short road dogs, 6 points or less, 14-2 against the spread this season. Philadelphia also has value. They're a divisional dog, as the built-in familiarity with the common opponent kind of levels the playing field because they play each other more than once a year. And it benefits the team that's getting the points. Now, divisional dogs are 61-46. That's 57% over the past 2 seasons. So you can see it's been a winning proposition no matter which way you went. It's also been profitable to fade the teams making their home opener in week 3. The Cowboys were on the road the first 2 weeks. Now, this is week 3. This is their first home game. Okay. Like the Cowboys tonight. Over the past decade, fading a team in that situation is at 67%. So that's just something else to kind of take into consideration. So, looking at the analytics for this particular game, everything seems to be pointing towards the Philadelphia Eagles, except the general public. They're going to be very heavily in on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the total opened at 51.5. Really hasn't budged much, hasn't budged at all. Primetime overs are 7-1 so far this season. Philadelphia is 2-0 to the under this season. Dallas is 1-1 to the under this season. So that's a rundown on the game for tonight. According to the pros, according to the analytics, which they're probably paying attention to, and probably the main reason why they're going to be going with the Eagles, and that's the team that they think will win. The analytics all seem to point right to the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's take our second break. And when we come back, we're going to take a look and see what Chris Andrews has to say. Chris is the sportsbook director at the South Point in Las Vegas. And again, just as a reminder, he's been a Nevada bookmaker for over 30 years. So kind of got to listen to just about what he says. But what we're learning from Chris, and you should be learning it, is the fact that he's letting you know how these numbers develop, how they started out, and how they kind of worked their way up. So we'll be back with more action on that as well. So we'll see how the Philadelphia Dallas game started out as far as the line movement, and we'll kind of take it from there. So just a reminder, you're in the sports wagering zone. And as usual, like we said, we take 3 breaks in the show. Each one is 1 minute long. So we will be back in 1 minute. And welcome back. Here we go again. You're back in the sports wagering zone. It's Monday night football night. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturdays and Sundays, we're here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So let's see what Chris Andrews has to say about the game for tonight. Philadelphia at Dallas. Now, he says that we'll do a ton of business on this game by kickoff time. A ton of business. The Cowboys, they kind of bring out the lovers and they bring out the haters. Philadelphia, they do pretty much, but just to a lesser extent. Not as many people hate them or love them. Not much betting yet, however, because the opener he had at Dallas was at 4, being a 4-point favorite, come down to 3.5. And so far, he's had some limited action on the opening total of 51.5. So what he's saying is be sure you monitor the markets tonight, later on today, because that's when the story will be told as to which direction the line is going to be going. Once again, be sure you monitor the markets today and coming up towards kickoff time, because that's where the story, as far as the line movement, where the money is going to go. They anticipate a lot of money coming in the game and a lot of it going on to the Cowboys. So he says, best of luck to you this weekend, and he hopes you do very, very well as well. So that's the story as far as that's concerned. Anyway, let's take one other look here because I want to spend some more time kind of talking about what's been happening lately, especially yesterday, which was just a prime example of what happens when a team has a few seconds left on the clock when they get the ball. Because, NFL coaches, the quarterbacks, they have to learn that you really can't give an opponent any time at all on that clock. We see it a lot of times. They score touchdowns too soon without getting that clock down or settling for what they think are game winning field goals, only to give their opponents too much time to steal a victory right out of the jaws of defeat, as the old expression goes. Now, a Sunday night, hey, yesterday was no different. It was the latest example. You had Aaron Rodgers, 37 seconds left on the clock to move the Packers into field goal range for Mason Crosby. And of course, even Lamar Jackson only needed 26 seconds to get the Ravens close enough for Justin Tucker's 66-yard game winner. Now, we know that was kind of unusual because that was a long kick and it worked, but still, they had enough time on the clock to be able to do it. That's the important thing. And the Chargers were lucky that Patrick Mahomes didn't pull off a similar feat because they scored their go ahead touchdown with 32 seconds to play. Left the ball with Mahomes, but didn't do much with it. With today's quarterbacks, and of course, you know how the rules are now, they give every advantage to the receivers. A lot of pass interference calls. That helps move the ball downfield. The best defense is not to give the opposing quarterback any time at all. That's what you got to start doing. I mean, the Giants game was exactly the same thing. Okay. Although it was a tie game at the time, they got the ball. The Falcons got the ball with a minute some seconds left. They came back and kicked the field goal and won the game in the last seconds. But you know what? I know it's going on. It's a lot of fun to watch, especially if you're on the end that's going to be the winner for you. But and we love these fantastic finishes, these close calls. They usually mean the underdog is covering or he's pulling away to really win the game. Underdogs are guaranteed of having the better against the spread record for the third straight week to start the season. They're at 63%, with the Bucks and Rams being a pick 'em, so that doesn't count. Now, home field advantage, we've kind of talked about that. It still continues to be negligible, despite the fans returning to the stands as road teams are at 8-7 straight up and against the spread so far in week 3, and they're 24-22 straight up, but they're 26-20 against the spread, which is almost 57%. The Packers Saints game back there in week 1, we're not counting that in our totals because it was on a neutral field. So it wasn't a home game, it wasn't a road game. Both teams were playing in Jacksonville because of the flooding in New Orleans. Now, the biggest surprise among the league wide betting stats is probably that despite all this high flying offense that we're hearing about, the unders are 11-4 so far in week 3, and they're 28-19, or almost at 60% overall. So that's really a big surprise because you hear about these quarterbacks throwing all these passes, there's a lot of yardage being gained and things of that nature, but still the unders lead 11-4 so far in week 3, with one more game going tonight, and overall almost 60%. So that's kind of a little information for you that might be of some use to you. I certainly hope you listen to some of it, try to absorb some of it, because it will be of some help to you. There's no doubt about it. Just to know that home field advantage, that means if they're getting 3 points, it's not really right. Okay. So kind of look at it from that perspective. And of course, the dogs, they've been doing very, very well. Usually in week 4, last year, anyway, week 4, it kind of slowed down a bit, right? And then week 5 and week 6, the favorites started coming into play at that time. By then, the sports books more or less have their numbers together, and they're getting closer and closer to what is the reality of what the game is going to be about. So let's take our final break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Cowboys and Eagles game once again, kind of let you know where the money is going in that game. And of course, we'll wrap it up then as well. So we'll be back in the zone in 1 minute. And here we go again. Welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone, coming to you live from the Mile High City in Denver, Colorado, on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms. We're here every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, just taking a look at the games yesterday and the pros and how they've done so far this season, just want to bring you up to date as to what the record is. Yesterday, they had 3 plays. Then Washington against Buffalo, and they liked Washington in that game. And of course, that was a loser. The Bucks and the Rams, that game, like everybody else in the country, were on the Bucks to win that game as well. But again, they lost on that one as well. They did win on the Giants and Atlanta. They liked Atlanta, so that was a win. So we had 3 plays yesterday, 2 losses, and 1 win. So altogether so far, since the season started, with 1 game left to go, Philadelphia and Dallas, there were 15 plays altogether. 9 winners puts you at 60%. So again, that's over that 52.3% mark. Of course, in the game tonight, you got Philadelphia against Dallas. And in this game, the pros are very much on the Philadelphia Eagles. Most of the various analytics, the numbers, they all seem to point to Philadelphia in this game in a very, very strong way. There's no doubt about it. So, but like Chris Andrews was saying, not much has been going on so far. People are kind of sitting back and waiting, trying to see what's happening. He's saying that the action will really start later on today. Keep an eye on it, monitor it real closely, because that's when you're going to start seeing the action and in which way it's going. So that's going to be going on from, I would say, somewhere around 1, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time, all the way up until almost game time. That's when most of the money is going to be coming in. You're going to see how that line is going to move, if at all. Okay, we know the general public, they're going to be on the Cowboys. Meanwhile, the pro money is coming in on the Eagles. And one thing you have to remember, you know, the life of a point spread, it really starts long before the game begins, before the week the game begins. NFL lines for every regular season game were posted over the summer. They were updated, and look, the headlines are posted on Tuesdays or Wednesdays of the previous week at most of the sports books. So you kind of get an idea as to what is going on. That means that we have an idea of what the odds makers are thinking really early in the process. So if you follow them from early when the lines first come out, and then about a week or so before the game is going to be played, you take a look at it again. This way, you'll kind of get a better idea as to why and how that process happens, just as we've been following it with you when we talk about Chris Andrews and his report every day. Now, after seeing Sunday's games play, you can see that adjustments are made to those lines, and the bettors start to really dig in on Sunday, and they start researching for the next week off of the data they're getting on Sunday. Now, sometimes your first impressions, they're the right ones. You know, you guess, you go this direction, you think this is the way you go, and you're right. But even if you aren't, and if you're not ready to start betting on the games right away, it's still a good idea to really see where the line is and start to follow that line. Take 3 or 4 games, see where the action is going. Follow that line movement in those games throughout the week. That'll help you in determining and trying to figure out what the line is going to be and in which direction you may want to go accordingly. So that's the story as far as line movement is concerned. Once again, to go over the game for tonight, Philadelphia against the Dallas Cowboys. The pros are on the Philadelphia Eagles. The general public, of course, they're going to be on the Dallas Cowboys. Like Chris said, there are haters and there are lovers. Dallas is one of those teams that attracts both. Okay. Eagles also to a certain extent as well, but not as much as the Cowboys. So that's the story for tonight. It's Monday. It's the start of a new week. Start looking at the lines, make some notes on the games and the lines that they're at, kind of follow them for a few days. This way you'll see where the action is going and then kind of start focusing on those games as well. So thank you very much for listening. And just a reminder, we will be back again tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. So it's Monday. I hope you have a great Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you did well with the college football or the NFL, one or the other, or for some of you guys did well, maybe on both of them. So if you did, congratulations as well. So have a great Monday. Watch that game tonight. Follow that line. Start looking at it real soon, and you'll see which direction it's going and what's going to be happening and which way the money is going. Might help you decide which team to bet on. So that's the story there. Once again, we'll be back again tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. So have a great Monday, but more importantly, have a profitable Monday as well. Goodbye, everybody.